Get that beautiful texture in that. I wish you could feel this. I've got my wire brush. I can't help myself. What's up? It's Chris from Tiny Industrial, and we've got 3 more planks. I'm gonna show you another 3 ways that you can do Shou Sugi Ban, and stick around to the end because we're gonna use motor oil. Yeah, you see that? Motor oil. All right, so let's get this party started. I am going to burn these boards in the same fashion that I did last time. 3 boards, 3 different treatments, light, medium, and dark. Somebody is asking me like, hey, have you ever tried to use motor oil? I have not, so let's do that. Do you need to wire brush? And no, the answer is no, you don't need to wire brush. So we're gonna do that on the 2nd board. And the 3rd board happens to not be a pine board, because every time I do this, I seem to be doing it on pine. Don't take my word for it. You decide. What do you think? Let's do this. Start with light. All right, I'd say that's a good representation of light. Let's do a medium. Man, I can tell you that the cedar smells great when you burn it. And last but not least, let's do a dark burn. I'd say that's pretty dark. All right, so from light to dark, we've now got 3 boards. One's on fire. Try to keep a fire extinguisher or garden hose handy when you're doing this. Let's treat these things and see what it looks like. All right, so here's a little bit of a better vantage point for you. First plank, we're gonna do the used motor oil. 2nd plank, we're not gonna wire brush. I've got my wire brush, I can't help myself. The 3rd board, we're gonna wire brush that one as well, and we're gonna treat it with the Danish oil, basically like a linseed type oil. So we're gonna put that on the piece of cedar. Okay, now if you were doing this for real and doing this for some sort of project, I always advise burning all sides of the wood, the sides, the bottom, the top, the ends, because otherwise, especially with a thinner piece of wood like this, you're gonna get some bending and warping on that because of the heat application. So always burn all sides, plus that way you're protecting all sides of the wood as well. For this purpose, I am merely doing the one side, the top surface. I'm gonna brush this one as well. So I can already tell you that I really like the look of the cedar. And what's happening with the cedar, there's sort of the hard sections and there's the soft sections. And particularly with the wire brushing, you're clearing away the soft sections, which tend to burn more readily, leaving you just really feel those grooves from the grain, which is so nice. You don't really get that as much. You get a little bit of that with the pine planks. All right, just to help delineate this a little bit better. Danish oil on brushed cedar. If you're new to this, I do have other videos on Shou Sugi Ban. You can check those out by clicking on the link in the corner. If this all feels a little advanced for you, check out one of my earlier videos where I go over some of the fundamentals and basics of this technique. Unfortunately, this Danish oil is a dark walnut stain, but I don't think it really makes much of a difference on here. It might make it a touch darker, I suppose. Well, that was a little generous on that part. Anyway, there's no right or wrong. There's no too much. There's no too little. There's only what you like and what you don't like. Cedar looking real nice. Now let's move on to the pine. Same deal. It's really going to darken this up a little bit, but that's okay. Now, as I've said in previous videos, the wood will soak in as much or as little of this oil as it can. It's going to depend on temperature of the wood, temperature of the oil. But you'll notice that I did not brush this middle board. People are like, what happens if you don't brush? Well, You're seeing it right here. I actually like that a lot on this dark end here. We got the alligator skin forming, which is that cracked sort of look that we're getting particularly through this edge right here, which is going to be the motor oil one. Kind of excited about this one. I'll get you a close-up of these when I'm done doing this. If any of this is helpful to you, please consider hitting the like button. I won't ask you to subscribe because that's for you to decide whether that's worthwhile or not. So the motor oil goes on kind of a little thicker than the Danish oil. Let's have you take a close look and then you can decide which you like the best. As always, I'd love to hear which of these you like the most. All right, so starting down here on the cedar plank, this is the light burn. Now again, keep in mind that I was using a stained Danish oil on this, so it's going to be a little darker than it would otherwise be. The medium burn, pretty dark. And then the shade darker down here on the heavy burn. Cedar, really like the look. I'm liking what I'm seeing there. Nice. I kind of almost prefer the light burn the most because you're getting the most sort of definition of the grain there. Now moving on to the lowly pine. This plank, as you remember, was not sanded in any way. So we've got the light burn section. We've got the medium burn section. There's a lot of reflection at the moment because the oil has just gone on, and I'll reshoot this in a little while once the oil's had a chance to soak in a bit. And the dark burn section. Now again, you see that beautiful alligator skin effect right there. I think that actually looks really good. There's no need to wire brush. I mean, if you wire brush, you're going to lose all that, right? So that will go away with the wire brush. And then last but not least, used motor oil. Here's the light burn section. I went a little dark on that end, so this is more representative right here. Then you have the medium section. Looks like that. And the dark burn section. So what I'm noticing in the dark burn section is there's more definition of the grain, kind of the same way that we got more definition of the grain over here as well. So when you do a heavy burn and a wire brush, you're really clearing away a lot more debris, a lot more loose debris, and that in turn creates those sort of channels in the grain. That does not happen on this particular plank. You're not creating those channels, but you're left with the arguably quite beautiful alligator skin look. So it's really a preference thing. Let's let this soak in. We're going to take another look at this in a half hour. When you don't wire brush, you have more loose debris on the surface of the wood, which may come off for a little bit longer than if you were to wire brush it. So over here, you're going to get less stuff coming off of the wood because it's already been brushed. But keep that in mind because this will come off a little bit more readily than the other ones. And man, the cedar just looks friggin' phenomenal. So beautiful, and I wish you could feel this because the texture is just so beautiful on this. That is like the groove on a record, very large groove, but it is like a groove on a record. It's really beautiful. The medium burn, very similar to the dark, maybe a little bit more texture there. I mean, not texture, but a little bit more definition. And I gotta say, for the win, for me, on this plank, the light burn, so nice. That just looks beautiful. Light burn brushed Danish oil, winner. Not brushed dark burn Danish oil. Winner on that pine plank. Motor oil. Dark burn. The motor oil looks good to me. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this helps you figure out how you plan to tackle your next Shou Sugi Ban project. It's a wrap. Thank you.